But speaking of tight ends, okay, Dalton Schultz probably down for Dallas. We've talked about others that are we're panicking about, Cole Kmet among them in that Bears offense. So if you do need to pivot, you mentioned Tyler Conklin, who has literally been a dependable part of the passing game in New York.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I would have thought that they would be dependable Jets pass catchers at this stage, but here we are, because there are actually a number of guys that I'm interested in. Garrett Wilson had a little bit of an off game. I will say he took a really hard shot to the ribs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not necessarily fair to him, but Tyler Conklin, a guy that has quietly been having a very nice fantasy season, especially in light of the volatility at the position. Like, you got to understand, to be consistent at the position, that's a very big deal. So he is the tight end 4.5 PPR through 3 games behind only Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, and Zach Ertz. That is some pretty good company to be in, especially to be and catching passes from Joe Flacco. He didn't find the end zone in week 3, but he was targeted heavily, caught 8 of 8 targets for 84 yards. Like, which tight ends out there are getting targeted 8 times a game? That is what he's averaging right now through 3 games. So the target share has been really impressive. I expect that to continue with Zach Wilson taking over, because I feel like Wilson falls into that category of being kind of on the inexperienced end of things. And Tyler Conklin seems like a nice security blanket, and clearly he's an attractive red zone target. So I like him, especially if you are lean at the position. He's a great streaming option right now, 21% rostered. As far as other guys, Logan Thomas, he's a guy that I've been pumping up. He did have a not great game. I will say the entire Washington offense had not a great game. Like, they were scoreless until a fourth quarter safety. So that's how bad things were for Carson Wentz and company. That said, I think that Logan Thomas will bounce back and Carson Wentz will bounce back. That's just the reality, is that there are going to be games that are not great, but Thomas was the tight end 1 last season on a per game basis. So I like him to come back onto the streaming radar once again. And then the last one I'm going to talk about is Jelani Woods. He was actually one of my favorite deep sleepers. I wrote about him in the preseason. This guy is an absolute unit. 3rd rounder from Virginia. He is 6'7", 259 pounds. Like, could we get him to go play left tackle as well, or something like that? I mean, he is Martellus Bennett, basically reincarnated. And scouts say, he has good blocking skills, good hands. All of that seemed evident on Sunday. I mean, not to mention that his first 2 NFL catches were touchdowns. So, he really, really wowed me on Sunday. I think that he has the talent and opportunity to take over that position from Mo Alley Cox, who's just been kind of floating around.
Mo Alley, no problem.
Exactly. So I think that he should be on your fantasy radar, especially in deep leagues and in keeper leagues. But I think anyone should just keep this guy on the radar because he's talented.
Yeah, fair enough. With Conklin, that would have been my question. As the Jets move to Zach Wilson, would it kind of still be that security blanket, as you mentioned, or does Zach Wilson try to let it rip a little bit more in this Jets offense instead of being conservative like the veteran Joe Flacco? Logan Thomas.
I don't know if I want to see him. No? I don't even know if I want to see Zach Wilson let it rip. I'm not quite sure yet.
But he's like that gunslinger mentality, so we'll see if he is heavily targeted now that they move to Zach Wilson. I hope so, because I do think, and I am a Jets fan, and I saw even in the preseason Tyler Conklin being involved in the offense. And honestly, when they signed CJ Uzomah in the offseason, when they drafted Ruckert out of Ohio State with their 3rd round pick and signed Tyler Conklin, I was like, wait, how are they gonna have it go around for all 3 of these guys? But it looks like Conklin is the one that has emerged to be the kind of number 1 Jets tight end. Logan Thomas is a guy I have always been on. You mentioned kind of his points per game, as long as he stays healthy. That's been the hardest thing for Logan Thomas, staying healthy.